Hi, my name's Dominic Sarlengo. Thanks for stopping by my channel. This is my first full-length video. I want to spend some time today talking about some of the systems that I learned from Cal Newport. If you don't know who Cal Newport is, he's an author, YouTuber, podcaster, and all-around great thinker. You should check out some of his books, his podcast, or even his YouTube channel to find out a little bit more about him. Today, we're going to talk about some of the systems I like to call backbone productivity. The reason I call it backbone is because you could run these systems either as the base of a larger system or on their own. While I keep calling them systems, some of these are really more concepts to keep in the back of your mind or philosophies on ways to work. So let's get into it. First place I wanted to start was something that Cal Newport calls freestyle productivity. Freestyle productivity really refers to the concept that no rigid system can function for long in a complex and ever-changing environment such as your life. Now, I know I have struggled in the past with the satisfaction of building a really complex Rube Goldberg-like machine that can take me from one task to the other, showing me hidden tasks and then hiding them, different perspectives. Really, what I was going for is trying to get away from working. I was really hoping I could put a system in place that would just basically do the work for me. But when I was honest with myself, I knew no system can really do the work for me, nor can it constantly tell me what to do next. All of our lives are constantly changing, adjusting, new information coming in, so you need to be flexible, which is kind of at the heart of freestyle productivity. Now that we got through freestyle productivity, let's move on to number 2. So next on the list here is something that Cal calls fixed schedule productivity. Fixed schedule productivity is basically the idea that you pick the hours during your day for which you want to work. The entire point is basically twofold. Number one is you don't want your entire day being eaten up by work. If you start to allow your work to creep into all hours of your day, well, you know what happens. You become stressed, you get a whole lot less done, you start to really dread your job. Obviously, things all of us would like to avoid. The second reason for this system is actually focus. If you have a set amount of hours in your day where you need to get things done, that means you need to focus in order to do that. On the surface, fixed schedule productivity is simple. There are really only 2 steps. You decide on what your schedule is, whatever's best for you, and number 2, you do all you can to make that work. Now, in terms of picking the hours in the day, what you're looking for is what is the right balance for you between effort and relaxation. All of us are going to have that a little bit different. So you need to decide what's best for you. Usually, you don't get that correct right away. Good concepts to keep in mind while you're experimenting is 1, how do you feel at the end of that workday that you set for yourself? Are you drained? Are you dead? Are you fighting through that last hour? That's probably a pretty good sign that that's too long. Or are you getting to the end of the day with a ton of energy and feel like you can still tackle more? Maybe you can experiment with giving yourself some more hours of work. I wanted to focus in on the second step here, doing anything you can to make sure that you stay within this schedule, because this is really where the rubber hits the road. You need to put in the upfront work and the during work. You need to put in the upfront work and then continue to put that effort in during the day to make sure you stay on schedule. Doing this is what's going to convince your mind that this is important to you, that the schedule you set with yourself is something that you hold sacred. Number 3 is all about putting certain tasks on autopilot. Cal Newport describes 2 types of tasks. Regularly occurring tasks, which are the tasks that take up the majority of our time and are actually the tasks that we're going to focus on with this third technique. And the reason we're going to try to put these kind of tasks on autopilot is so that they allow us more time to do the non-regularly occurring tasks, which are often the big projects, experiments, different things that we like to put into our lives to grow, to learn, and to make life generally more interesting. The easiest and most straightforward way to do an autopilot schedule is to simply do the same tasks on the same day and even at the same time. If you can make this work within your schedule, this is what I would suggest to do because it is by far the simplest method. But what if you have an irregular schedule and this just doesn't work? In this case, you're going to want to think a little bit outside the box. And honestly, I struggled with this until I heard a few examples that allowed me to open up my creativity to how to approach my schedule. All of us have complexities to our schedule that may make it so that we have to get a little creative with this. And so one of the things to keep in mind that can be useful is pairing an activity after an activity that you commonly do. So what do I mean by that? Well, maybe you go to the gym on days that you don't have to go into work. If that's the case, you then stop by a coffee shop and get your bills done or go through your email. Additionally, you can start to form a ritual around different tasks. So maybe you can't do your task of choice on the same day every week, but you could potentially do that task at the same spot every week. This may mean that you sit down at the same desk every time you do a certain task, or it may mean that you make a cup of coffee before you write, or pour yourself a bourbon before you practice guitar. What you can really do here is pair constantly occurring things together to try and get recurring tasks done. Finally, for number 4, I wanted to talk about a simple, albeit key idea. It is one that actually I find that I struggle with, which is unfortunate because I do truly think it is key. That topic is finishing. So what do I mean by finishing? Generally finishing, following through, completing a project, following through with somebody. It's starting something and finishing that something. I think I'm probably not alone in the fact that at times I shouldn't say at times, nearly always, I start a whole bunch of things that I'm never going to finish. But a really great quote that I've heard from Cal Newport is, productivity helps to reduce stress, but it is unrelated to success. What leads to success is just what I mentioned, finishing one project after the next, lining things up one after another that leads to greater and greater opportunity. What you basically want to do is start somewhere, start a project, finish, make sure the scope is something that you can finish. Once you do finish that project, you stop, you look around, and you see what sort of opportunities are opened up. At first, they won't be large opportunities, and they may even seem to be a little bit stagnant, but look around and decide what one completion allows you to go to next. You start lining those up one after the other, week after week, month after month, you start opening more and more and more doors that lead to more and more and more interesting opportunities. So get started somewhere, just make sure you finish. Well, I just wanted to thank you for watching all the way to the end of my first video, and I hope some of these concepts are helpful. On the surface, these are all very simple, but as always, some of the most simple things are what leads to the best outcomes or a way to run your complex life. If you keep these concepts and some of these tools in mind, I really do think that if these are the only things you ever do, thinking about your productivity and your work and your workflow and your day-to-day life, I really think that you could lead yourself to some really interesting opportunities that then leads to more and more interesting life. Thanks again for watching. Again, I hope this was helpful, and I'm hoping to make more videos on this channel that follow this, but really just explore lots of topics. So if you're interested in this topic or other topics, please leave a comment, let me know, and I'm hoping you'll watch more in the future. Thanks.